Hello everyone and welcome back to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel. I'm Warren, and today just wanted to take a step back. Obviously this past weekend was San Diego Comic-Con, which is, one of the big conventions here in the United States that gives us news of upcoming Transformers, developments, new releases, sometimes partnership announcements, and of course a lot of figures were revealed. Most likely you've seen these if you follow any of the fan sites out there, or message boards or Facebook groups, what have you. But wanted to go through and just kind of do a wrap up of all the news that came out of San Diego Comic-Con, and of course, share my thoughts with you. And again, just really kind of provide that recap, even in case you might have missed something. Because, again, there was a lot. There was kind of batches that came out, from different news sites. Some had all the, most of the figures. Some might have missed one or two. So, I'm not saying I'm perfect. By no means am I. And don't consider myself a news site as much as I do, again, discussions and just kind of giving my thoughts on upcoming news and releases. So, again, hopefully you all are interested in what I have to say. And we'll go ahead and jump right to it. So, all these pictures, clear disclosure, I did get these from TFW 2005. Most of the pictures are the official Hasbro releases, save for maybe one or two toward the end. So, do want to give credit where credit's due. So, the very first one is we are getting a Deluxe Age of the Primes Alpha Bravo. And if you remember, Alpha Bravo was the, kind of the additional limb for Combiner War Superion. They did that to, kind of break up the, the amount of jets or planes on the store shelf. So they gave us a helicopter. And, I like my original aerial bots team, but, I do kind of like Alpha Bravo too. And this appears to be a redeco, retool of Blastoff from Age of the Primes. And, he looks dead on. Very similar to his Combiner Wars counterpart. Love the bright orange in the robot mode there. Taking a look at the, the helicopter mode. I just said it. Also looks good. I would have liked for a little bit more of that orange to show up here, more like a rescue, like Coast Guard helicopter. But it's not bad, just a lot of white. But of course, that's, a lot of the aerial bots, were very, just kind of plain in their colors. No pun intended, plain. Never mind. Anyways, but I do think it looks good. Not a bad figure at all. I do have the original, so I don't know if I'll be picking this up yet. Don't really know if I necessarily need it for my collection, but I think it's a cool thing they're doing. Up next, we are getting a couple limbs for Nexus Prime. So first up we have Breakaway, which, speaking of the aerial bots, is a retool, redeco of an aerial bots mode. I believe it's Slingshot. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments here. But I think it looks great. Deco's dead on from that original Collectors Club exclusive that, Nexus Prime and all these are based on. I think, again, that being said, it'll pair nicely with Nexus Prime. I think the jet mode looks great. Kind of gives me a little bit of Thundercracker vibes, not going to lie, blue jet. But, it's also different at the same time. It's not a dead ringer. And, which is kind of ironic considering, I believe in Skybound right now, Thundercracker has joined up with the aerial bots. So, kind of interesting there. Our next limb is Skyguard. And he is a retool, redeco off of Blastoff. And his face is kind of interesting. It reminds me of a mix between maybe Whirl or Shockwave. Almost like Lugnut. I'd say Lugnut more so, because it almost looks like there's a little mouth, or big mouth rather, underneath that eye. And then the helmet really reminds me a lot of Cobra Commander. And I've heard a lot of that already called out before as well. But again, goes great with the Nexus Prime figure as a set. I love the shuttle mode being that bright red color, you know, with some blue accents. I think that really pops. I like that a lot. Now, what's interesting is that we did only get Skyguard and Breakaway released or announced to go with Nexus Prime. So we still are missing 2 limbs. I suspect those will come in the future, whether it's Age of the Primes or whatever the follow-up Generations line is. And then, I mean, Alpha Bravo is just kind of an extra limb out there, so I guess you could throw him into the mix as well. Speaking of combiners, we are finally getting closer to our US release of G2 Menasor with G2 Wild Rider. I think he looks great. He's going to go with the other 3 deluxes that have been released. Again, no news on Motormaster yet. The fact that they went out of their way to go ahead and create and release Wild Rider tells me something's planned down the line outside of that Takara box set. I think the vehicle mode looks great. One thing I think that is interesting here is the roof has a design on it, and I don't believe the other 3 deluxe Stunticons we've gotten so far in G2 variants have had that. And that actually reminds me more of what we saw in that Takara box set. So I'm kind of wondering if they're borrowing. I don't know if it's an exact, you know, I don't have the pictures side by side here, but you know, it might be a, I don't know if it's a direct lift from that, or, you know, just kind of their take on it. But again, I like this. I think it looks good. Up next, we have, I've talked about these on the channel before when they were leaked. We have Dark Energon Megatron, who I think looks great. Originally, I speculated this would be a redeco of the Studio Series Megatron. It is not. This is the Voyager Megatron we had in several different lines now. Earthrise, Siege. I believe this is from the variant they used when they made him Minor Megatron. If you see the drill up on his shoulder and his pickaxe. Not a bad toy, and I understand why they chose Voyager instead of Leader Class. But again, I miscalled that one. And again, it is a Walmart exclusive. It is the Walmart exclusive Energon capsule, which myself and others speculated versus the Energon portion of the Unicron trilogy. I'd like to pick this up if budget allows for it, because I think it looks great as just kind of its own thing. Not that it necessarily, you know, fits in with any specific line or the way I choose to display my figures right now. But I think it's a great, you know, kind of standalone, being its own thing. And the same goes for the rest of the figures. We have Energon Optimus Prime here. Who, again, I think this looks great in that blue. And this is the Siege Optimus Prime mold. Again, not the Studio Series Cab like I originally speculated. So not a Leader, but a Voyager again. A little bit more budget-friendly, though Voyagers are kind of the sharpest price increase we've seen thanks to tariffs. But I do like it. Again, kind of its own thing. And going with Megatron in this line, we have, this is Cybertronic, Dark Energon Cybertronic, excuse me. And he's great, you know, obviously, you know, using the weaponizer mold again. I believe this was, oh my goodness, was this 6-gun? I think it was 6-gun. But anyways, one of the several weaponizer molds that we got, and I think it's only logical that you would have weaponizers that go with this Optimus and Megatron, kind of its own self-contained thing. Since they're kind of in that blueprint kind of tech mold, why not have upgrades available? And for Optimus, we have Energon Cybertread, who is, the repaint of, or redeco of Slammer that we had before. And again, I think he looks really awesome in those colors and the clear plastic. I know not everybody's a fan of clear plastic, but I rather like this. And it's only 4 figures in this capsule that have been at least revealed. And again, if finances work out, I'd love to pick these up eventually. And I know a lot of the pre-orders for these have sold out. Between Walmart and Hasbro Pulse, I haven't been up there today, or out there today rather. But I suspect we will see these in stores. I think there's a lot of initial hype from people who want, again, these as standalone figures. But I don't think they're going to have the same appeal as, a regular Optimus or Megatron or, even the weaponizer releases. So I think once that initial excitement dies down, you'll be able to find these. I'm not saying they're clearance items, but I would suspect you'll be running into these at stores. At least I hope, put it that way, because I did not pre-order. Up next is another Beast Wars Anniversary box set. Of course, I covered when there was the reveal of the Predacon box set, which, after I released it, I realized they are the premium decos and finish to them that Takara released that were included in that box set. And that very much seems to be the case here with the Maximals. You do get, let's see, what is there, 7 figures in here. You get Air Razor, Cheetor, Rhinox, Tigatron, Dinobot, Rat Trap, and Optimus Primal. Now, one thing that is interesting in here too is you're getting a lot in this box set, and I don't have the price of this box set, though I can pretty much tell you it's probably going to be a value. You're getting 2 Deluxes and 1 Core/Legends class with Rat Trap. But with Rhinox, Tigatron, Dinobot, and Optimus Primal, they're all Voyager class. And, of course, Voyager class being about $43 a pop now, which still not happy with. I'd love to see it come down one day. Not counting on it. But whatever they end up charging here, I thought the Predacon box set was a good price for those that didn't have any version of the figures. I'm happy with the ones I have, but if you want this premium deco or want the full set of Maximals that have been done in the Generations lines, this is most likely going to be the way to go if history repeats itself here, which I am expecting that it will. All right, up next is a very interesting release. I kind of speculated this one. So earlier this year, a few months ago, it was revealed we were getting a Transformers Icons Optimus Prime figure, which I did cover in a video. And it was an Optimus Prime that transformed into the Autobot logo. Or Autobot shield, whatever, emblem, whatever you want to call it. And, I had mixed feelings about it. I still don't have the figure. Some people do. And this is, I speculated, okay, I bet we see a Megatron as a Decepticon logo. And lo and behold, here it is. And I'm not the only one that speculated that. So I'm not trying to take too much credit. But, I did take it a step further and say, okay, are we going to get multiple Autobots that turn into Autobot logos, multiple Decepticons that turn into the Decepticon logo? that remains to be seen. I even went a step further and said, oh, are we going to see Beast Wars versions of these? Again, remains to be seen. You know, I'm kind of expecting it to honestly stop after Optimus and Megatron. These being kind of one-offs, and maybe we'll get some alternate decos of these. Maybe we'll get, you know, a glossy finish, or we'll get a Nemesis Prime, or Shattered Glass versions, where you get a red Decepticon logo and a purple Autobot logo. Who knows? You know, I think it looks all right. You know, as with Optimus in the robot mode, you are missing a lot of iconic details here on Megatron. You know, like the regular Megatron, you know, chest and emblem and torso. You actually don't even have his arm cannon here. Or, I'm sorry, okay. You do have a cannon, and this picture threw me off, and then I looked at the box in the pegs here. So it looks like this double-barreled blaster can be held or mounted on Megatron's forearm. It does not look like the classic fusion cannon that we're all used to. I mean, it looks all right, but, you know, I more or less, I prefer... you know, the classic G1 look of the fusion cannon, or even what they did in Transformers 1 for it. So, I don't know. There's some, you know, I mean, the head is definitely Megatron, and the colors, the gray, but that's about it. You know, the red worked for the Autobot logo on Optimus, because Optimus is mostly red. And there's an awful lot of purple on Megatron. And yes, outside of Beast Wars, we've had G1-inspired Megatrons that were purplish. Like I said, it looks all right. My verdict is the same as it was with Optimus. You know, if I get these for a good enough deal, and if I can confirm that beyond having them on stands, that I can put these... Autobot and Decepticon symbols on a wall, like mount them on a wall, and the bonus is they transform, then I like that. But I personally suspect that this will be the end of the line with these two, again, with some repaint potential for Shattered Glass and what have you. I'll be surprised if I see it go, if we see it go much further. I don't think they're terrible. I just don't think they're, you know, 100% the greatest thing ever conceived. But, you know, I'm fine they exist. And again, maybe one day I will add them to my collection. It's just not something I'm dying to run out and buy. Jumping into some studio series. We are getting the 1986, the movie, the Allicon. This is a re-release of the previously released mold. I've looked at the figure I already have on my shelf, and I don't really see much difference. If there is, leave a comment, and if there is a difference, it's very minor. And again, you know, you could get this to troop build. I personally don't have a need to. But again, I'm glad it's being reissued for those who missed out on it the first time, or again, want a troop build. What I really would have liked to have seen was this made into, I know when they did the Pit of Judgment, or was it the Pit of Judgment? Or it might have been a Target box set that they used this. It might have been for the Bailiff. I'm trying to remember now. But anyways, I know that this mold was reused for another Quintesson allied character. And I guess I would have liked to have seen that version released, even in an alternate deco. You know, but it's great. This one's coming back out. Maybe we'll get that... that retooled version out as well. The next one I'm a little bit more excited about. This is Transformers 1 Studio Series Shockwave. And again, I've said it on the channel before, my goal is to collect all the Transformers 1 Studio Series releases. Again, I think it was a very underrated movie. I loved it. And I think it has some great designs, you know, for Cybertronian forms. I mean, we've done it before between Siege and the original War for Cybertron, you know, the video games. And then before that, the War Within, you know, comic series from Dreamwave. But I do think, you know, the designs for 1 were spot on, and I'm glad to see, you know, despite it not performing as well as everybody would have liked to have seen, that Hasbro is sticking to it and giving fans these true, you know, representations of the characters from the movie in the Studio Series line. Even if it's 1 or 2 at a time, heck, that's more budget friendly for me. So, you know, keep it slow and steady, and we'll win the race there. But happy to see they're continuing. We're going to switch gears over to crossovers. Now, I've talked about these on the channel already. We know that, you know, Hasbro and / Transformers is teaming up with Monster Jam. And, you know, I believe it's Spin Master makes the Monster Jam toys. So what's interesting, we got some more reveals at SDCC. So we already know we're getting Furioso as well as Big Tooth, which are, of course, based on El Toro Loco and Megalodon, respectively. And, of course, these are more designed. I love them, but they are more designed for that cyber world crowd. You know, more of your kid-friendly crossovers, which I'm glad to see happen. I don't think the Hot Wheels line did enough with that. It was all collector-facing and still is. And again, on that note, I think it's interesting, again, that we're doing a crossover with one of Hot Wheels / Mattel's biggest competitors in that space. I don't believe Spin Master is owned by Mattel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but just very interesting that Hasbro has made this partnership. But anyways, in addition to Furioso and Big Tooth, we did find out that the crossover figure for Gravedigger is coming out. Gravedigger is named Grim, you know, Grim Reaper. It works. This one, though, is not really geared toward the kids. I mean, yes, kids can still enjoy this figure, but this is more, you know, it's 8+, you know, so it's not quite that cyber world crowd. But this, and it comes with blast effects, but this one looks great. I love the deco on the vehicle mode. You know, it's classic Gravedigger with all those, you know, graphics on the side. I love the scythe, and it looks like we have, yeah, the pirate flag there for robot mode. And the colors are just there, the deco. This is a great looking figure. And what's even more interesting, I believe this is the first, correct me if I'm wrong, but this crossovers figure is not an Autobot. It's clearly marked on the package. He is a Decepticon. Now, you know, everybody else, you know, the companies and IP holders don't want their characters and vehicles to be labeled evil. Well, apparently, Monster Jam doesn't care with Gravedigger because, you know, it's already kind of a menacing name and concept already. So they allowed Hasbro to make him a Decepticon. And I love the colors here. It's perfect. That's all there is to it. You know, I don't have the figure in hand to convert, you know, really review the tooling. But as much as I like Furioso and Big Tooth, which I still plan on picking up, I gotta add Grim to my collection. Again, I don't have a price on here. With that deco, I would expect this in size. Actually, it does look pretty big. I don't know if this is more Deluxe or Voyager size. I At a minimum, I'm expecting $35 like the Hot Wheels ones because of everything going into this. If it's more your deluxe size, I think that's a deluxe price point. I think you're getting a heck of a deal. I'm expecting somewhere between that $35 price point, like I just said, and maybe the price of a Voyager. Because, again, I can't really tell how big this is. So I'm thinking between 35 and 45, if I had to guess. So, I mean, that's not official. That's just me kind of guessing. Now, Monster Jam and Hasbro have taken this concept a step further, and they are releasing Monster Jam trucks modeled after, decoed after Transformers. And it looks like this is going to come in a variety of releases and decos from what I could tell. What I have pictured here, this is the collector set. So the 4 characters we have Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee, and Starscream. Yes, they chose to go with Starscream for a monster truck, and it works, you know, with the kind of the, you know, the fantasy oriented monster truck vehicles you have out there. It works for Starscream. Understand these are going to get individual releases as well. I saw pictures of the packaging, but this kind of shows you all 4 here. And I believe the decos might differ slightly. It was really hard to tell in the pictures from the individual release to what's pictured in the collector set here. So I am thinking it does differ a little bit. I know these images on the sides of this collector's box that have been used before, but that expression Megatron has, that is not the best representation of a classic Megatron, but, you know, I'm not going to knock it too much, because I actually think these monster trucks are pretty cool looking. We're moving back to Studio Series, but a different corner of Studio Series, and that is Age of Extinction. Now, you know, to much mixed response out there in the fan community, Hasbro has moved forward with making Titan-class Dinobots from Age of Extinction. They started with Grimlock, who's recently been released, and the next one is Scorn, and they showed off Scorn at, you know, SDCC, both in his Dino mode seen here, and then we also have the bot mode. And I'm just going to say it, these are not for me. You know, the live action movies are what they are. They have their fans. I personally did not care for the representation of the Dinobots in those last 2 Michael Bay film. Well, they're Bayverse. I don't think they were directed by him, but he was still involved. Age of Extinction and Last Night. Just too much of a departure from what the Dinobots are in other media, G1 and beyond. And even outside of that, you know, this is a Titan-class figure, and it's 3 colors. It's gray with brown mud spots and blue for the eyes. And I don't believe these are prototype colors, because Grimlock doesn't have many more colors, if any more. And for a price point of retailers selling this, I've seen between $150 and $200, I'm not impressed at all. You know, I would almost rather, you know, if they need to dig somewhere else for Titan class inspiration, you know, outside of G1, which, you know, they've done mostly what they can do, with a few exceptions here or there. I would rather them start making up their own characters and repaints of existing molds, or, again, just making new molds of brand new characters they come up with. You know, again, there's fans of these. I'm happy for you. it's just not for me, and I think the deco is very, very, very lackluster. And again, if this is a prototype, please leave a comment. I don't believe it is, though, again, after seeing how Grimlock turned out. And that's really all I have to say about that. The next reveal was actually very interesting, and this is a shot from the presentation that Hasbro gave. So this is from the Skybound comics. It is Studio Series. I personally have not read the Skybound comics. I haven't really been intrigued to. I've heard it's kind of interesting how they've handled some things. Some things sound interesting, some things not. You know, but this is, I guess, an original character from the comics called Shredhead. He's a Voyager, and he's a, like what I'll just call an 80s van. I think the robot mode and this side of the van they do look pretty cool. Again, I love how the pink pops in robot mode. It almost looks like he has headphones on. I like the sword. So I think that's pretty cool. What everybody's really going gaga over is the other side of the van. It has this really cool artwork on it, which I guess is probably in the comics. You know, you have this dragon and this Conan the Barbarian looking character, almost like a haunted castle and a wizard and Optimus Prime. And it really, you know, it's a lot of artwork for a release. So I believe this is a Pulse exclusive, if I'm not mistaken. You know, there's a heck of a deco on this, almost as much as that Gravedigger release we looked at earlier. I think it looks cool. Again, I don't know. I have just not been intrigued enough with the Energon universe that Skybound has, where they're mixing all these Hasbro properties, and then, I don't know, there's been some panels I've seen that are a little bit darker for me than I like my Transformer comic stories. Not that the original Marvel run didn't have its darkness, but just, I don't know. It just hasn't really intrigued me all that much, but maybe I'll pick up some collected issues one day and, you know, jump into it. But regardless, I think this is a cool standalone toy and a new character, a new Autobot you could add to your collection. And, you know, I may consider getting this one day just for that, because I love the alt mode and I love how the character looks. So, in bot mode even. So, you know, I think this is a really cool release that they're doing. Next one kind of has me divided. And that is Deluxe G1 Red Alert from Studio Series. Now, the previous Red Alert that has come out looks somewhat similar. What they've done here is really gave him at least, I believe it's at least a partial off of the original mold that we have. However, you can tell the head is different. The shoulder rocket looks different. Some of the deco, especially the fire department artwork, looks a bit different. So it's almost like a redo of Red Alert. And you can tell from the logo here, the classic Transformers G1 logo. This is not Transformers the Movie Studio Series. This is 84-85 Studio Series, as we saw them do with the announcement of the made-to-order Rainmaker set plus Sunstorm, or the Storm Seeker set, Seeker Storm, I forget exactly what order, but so this shows that, yes, we are going down that rabbit hole with all sorts of other characters, and there's some characters in the show we've never seen have toys before. I'd love to see that. You know, few and far between, but, you know, there's a few out there, like, let's have a bot figure, why don't we? And That was sarcasm for those that don't know it. But anyways, this Red Alert does look really good. You know, I don't know if I'll pick it up yet because I really do like my Red Alert. It does what it needs to do for me in my collection. But I do think this is really cool of them to do. Next up, we are going back to the 86 movie. And it's the one we all knew was coming. Studio Series Transformers the Movie Wheelie. And this makes use of that retro-carded toy version that was first released as a Walmart exclusive, which I'd have reviewed on the channel, and I talked at length about how everybody knows this figure's coming in this deco, and here it is. Personally, I think it looks great. Some of the feedback I've seen from other fans is, you know, they're kind of mixed because they either like the mold or they don't. I've gone on record saying, you know, I like that smaller Studio Series one they released already. However, I think this looks good. And if I continue my trend of getting the deluxe scaled mini cars, I'll need this to go with them. So more than likely, I'll get this one. And then up next, we have IDW Nautica. So this is where, again, we're going more. They've done comic editions before, but, you know, this shows where the Studio Series really is reaching into every bit of media. Again, going back to IDW. Nautica, I know, was a very popular character. I read the early IDW stuff before she was introduced. But I have to say, I think this looks like a really cool Transformer. I will say that vehicle mode, I guess it's kind of a hovercraft, kind of maybe a souped up version of Sea Spray in a way. You know, I think it does what it needs to do. It is a little bland as far as deco, I'm not going to lie. But where I think this mold really shines is that robot mode. Looks, you know, kind of bulky, but yet, you know, sturdy. And I like the distribution of the deco, kibble, and colors in robot mode. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty cool toy. I don't think I'll be rushing out to get it because, again, I'm not too familiar with the character. But, you know, as a new character to add to my collection, if I could get it, again, for a good price, you know, I see no reason not to add this to my collection eventually. Up next is a re-release of Studio Series Transformers the Movie Dinobot Swoop. Why am I calling him Donna? It's Swoop, okay? We know we have our copyright reasons why he's Dinobot Swoop, but we just call him Swoop here on the channel. Anyways, again, I have this release. He was fairly hard to get, as were most of the Dinobots when they were first released, so I'm glad Hasbro keeps making these available for people to complete a collection. I know some people who have it, and they're looking at it from a value standpoint, saying, oh, I already have that. If they re-release it, it devalues mine. But, you know, I'm not like that. I'd rather people be able to complete their collections as they like. And I know there's some other figures that I missed out on just for whatever reason, you know, that part of my life, that I love to see them re-released from the past, you know, 5 or 6 years, past 10 years, we'll go that far. And hopefully we'll see some more of this trend of releasing new molds / redecos alongside reissues of more modern toys for, again, to give people that second chance. So I like seeing this. Up next is a figure we've been waiting, it feels like 2 years to hear about. I'm sure it hasn't been that long, but it feels like it. And that is the fan vote Shockwave. If you recall, Hasbro did this thing called Activate Your Alt Mode, where we got to select through a vote, we were able to select a classic Transformers character to get a brand new alt mode, and that to be made into a toy. And the winner of that was Shockwave. And we can see here he is going to be... And I forget what the exact poll results were. I'm not sure if that's a whale or a shark. I personally, it looks more like a whale to me. I'm sure it's probably intended to be a shark since it's Shockwave, a Decepticon, but I forget. But anyways, whether it's a whale or a shark, once it's painted, I'm sure we'll know. But this is, of course, a prototype here. I like the water blast effect that you can see in the alt mode, mouth there. Shockwave looks like classic Shockwave. Looks like he does have a blast effect for his laser hand. The alt mode, okay, I know it's more mechanical. It's not like a Beast Wars approach where it's supposed to be super lifelike. I guess Hasbro decided he still should only have one eye, which is what's mounted, kind of on top of the head there. I guess that keeps with being Shockwave. I would have liked to have seen, regular eyes on either side. But again, it's Shockwave. I guess I'm divided on that. I guess I need to see the painted prototype. I don't think this looks bad. Don't think I'm saying that. It's just odd. Again, it is Shockwave, but for being a different alt mode that's supposed to be a sea creature, I don't know if his aesthetic of having one eye should have carried over or not. So I'm kind of divided there. But, again, and this is going to be a leader class. So, we'll have to see what that looks like. But if they do the deco as well as I think they will, this will probably be something I eventually want to pick up. But I'm sure, again, there's more to come on this one. So that's going to do it for Hasbro reveals. I believe I got them all. Again, if I didn't, let me know. The next thing I want to talk about is Robosen. Robosen did a reveal during Comic-Con. And everybody I've seen kind of has the same opinion. Let me show it here. In honor of Transformers the movie, the one from '86, 40th anniversary, we are getting Fallen Leader Optimus Prime. Now, and it's a flagship Optimus Prime. Where to begin? First off, I think Robosen makes a great product for those who can afford them. And, it's the ultimate expression of Transformers. A Transformer that can transform, walk, move, interact on its own, transform on its own, and drive, move on its own. Remote control, but you're not having to push it. I think this may be their biggest misstep to date. First off, everything I just said about Robosen, it's creating lifelike Transformers that can move, interact, transform, talk, have lights, all that stuff in a very lifelike method, or a very life way. Okay. Optimus Prime did not turn gray in the movie until he was dead. That was the moment he died. So, unless you're really looking at this from a zombie Optimus Prime perspective, how does it make sense to make a toy or a robot that can do all that that's dead? Okay? And I've seen pretty much every piece of feedback I've seen. talks about what a misstep this was. And I believe it's limited. I forget how much, maybe about 1,000. It is limited, but it is very expensive. And honestly, unless you're only going in to collect Robosen stuff right now, or just have that great of a job, I don't know why you would choose this one over, again, the ultimate expression of a Transformer and have it look like Optimus Prime normally does. This Prime, if this was a realistic Optimus Prime, it should lay there like a board on the ground and do nothing. Because that's what Optimus Prime did here. I know I've had some criticisms of some of the other releases, but, you know, alongside the positive, I don't really have much positive to say about this. I have positive stuff, again, to say about Robosen and their other products. This is a misstep. I know they probably wanted to do something for Transformers the movie. You know, they could have done any other character that was introduced in the movie. Do a Hot Rod. If you need to do something small, do a Wheelie. Galvatron. Yeah, we're not getting into the alt mode there. But, or Rodimus Prime, or Ultra Magnus. RC would have been cool. This was a misstep, and I'm not going to say, oh, it's a cash grab, because, yeah, they're there to make money, but I don't even know how much cash this is going to make them. I'll be shocked if this thing sells out in the limited number they're producing. Anyways, let's get away from that and go back to something a little bit more positive that was also revealed by Hasbro. So, we already know that Transformers the movie is coming back starting September 17th through Fathom Events in select theaters, again, for the 40th anniversary. And, you know, they've been doing, Hasbro's been, you know, it has this thing where it's the apology tour, and, you know, it still hits like a truck 40 years later. And what's interesting is, okay, so the fact that it's coming back to theaters was not news to Comic-Con. What was news is the new trailer they put out promoting it. In the trailer, and alongside the trailer, it was announced that there's going to be a quote-unquote sneak peek at the next exciting chapter of Transformers. And, you know, you've probably seen the trailer by now, but we see at the end, and honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the trailer and how they remix some of the spoken lines and the animation from the movie, but I can live with that. That's not a big deal. At the very end, they show Optimus Prime, again, gray and dead, just like he is on this poster, and what that Robosen figure is representing. Anyways, but they show him dead and gray, floating through space. Then they zoom in on his hand and you see his fingers twitching. And, you know, obviously Season 3, you know, is the follow-up to Transformers the movie. You know, starting with 5 Faces of Darkness all the way through the Rebirth. And the video, the VHS release of The Return of Optimus Prime already kind of says that it's the sequel to Transformers the movie, if you read the back of the box when it first came out. So there's a lot of speculation and talk about this. If it's, you know, are we going to get an alternate sequel to Transformers the movie, or just kind of an offshoot, you know, kind of a one-off, maybe a short, or are we... Or is it, you know, just setting up the next version, the next part of Generations, maybe, you know, after Age of the Primes? Or is it nothing? You know, is it just going to be just a few, like, you know, little clips they tag on and, you know, just get you excited, you know, again, indicating Optimus will return. Now, I mean, that scene, obviously, where he's floating through space contradicts what we saw in the episodes Dark Awakening and The Return of Optimus Prime parts 1 and 2, because he was on board the Autobot kind of crypt ship, or the derelict ship. I forget exactly what they referred to it as, but he was not floating in space. You know, so it is very interesting, and you know, I'm going anyways, so you know, it'll be great to see what that extra content is, and if it truly leads anywhere. You know, again, and if it does lead somewhere, are we talking comic, web series? I would kind of doubt we're going to get a full-on animated series. I know there's rumors of some out there, including one based on the Energon universe I spoke about earlier. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where this leads. And I think, again, it's got a lot of people, including myself. It caught us by surprise. And that's going to be about it. You know, for what was unveiled at Comic-Con, of course, there was the Celebration of Life concert where you had, you know, live performances, including by Stan Bush, but you had Gem Songs, G.I. Joe, I believe, and of course, Transformers the movie. Seeing some clips from that, it looked like a great time. And then, of course, it was all really centered around the Transformers the movie reimagined soundtrack that has been released now on CD, vinyl, cassette, and digital. I am listening to the digital version. I will be picking up at least the record, you know, just to have one in my collection. I'm going to save my review for that album on a future video, just to give it the time and attention it really deserves, because we've talked about so much already here. Anyways, so we are going to wrap it up there. I do hope you enjoyed kind of this recap of San Diego Comic-Con. I will say, at first I was kind of like, oh, well, we really didn't get many major reveals here. You know, I went back and looked over the past 5 years, and it's pretty much on par. Actually, probably got more figures revealed. You know, Hasbro also does, you know, their own reveals at other times. They've done PulseCon and HasCon before. I don't really know how much of a thing those are anymore. Well, HasCon's not, but PulseCon, which is more of a digital convention. And then, of course, you know, there's Toy Fair and just other means that they announce stuff. But for San Diego Comic-Con, it was actually, again, on par, if not slightly more. So, not bad. And I did like how their booth looked this year. If you haven't seen that, you know, look up some pictures or some videos of that. But anyways, if you did like this recap, feel free to give it a like here on YouTube. And, of course, subscribe to the Peach State Prime Transformers channel for more content like this, whether we're discussing news, doing toy reviews, or, again, just having some sort of general discussion over our favorite hobby. And, of course, leave a comment. You know, what was your favorite reveal from Comic-Con this year? And, you know, or any of the speculations we have now. Always love to hear from you. Outside of that, you can check out PeachStatePrime.com to learn more about me and my YouTube efforts. And, of course, you know, sorry. This has been a long video for me to remember to say a lot of stuff. Anyways, I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a great day, and God bless.